We got a consultant from Be Safe Consultant, another individual from Land Lease, a bunch of students from the Honolulu Community College, and Tom Joaquin and his, not Tom Joaquin, Joaquin Diaz. Joaquin Diaz and his group from Hawaiian Dredging. So he's here, and also another guest from Unlimited. And of course, we like to invite our first responders from the fire department, so we're glad that you can come here and partake in our event. Now, what we do in this event is we show different scenarios in dealing with high voltage and low voltage type incidences. Now, these incidences have happened to us in the past, to our employees, to people out in the public, to first responders. So the reason why we do this is to have a learning experience, to know what electricity can do in certain situations, and what we can do to stay safe in those types of situations. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hot up this primary line, and the voltage that flows through this will be 7,200 volts. And what we're gonna do is simulate a situation where we have a down line. So there's times when there's storms or there's a motor vehicle accident, lines come down, and in this particular situation it falls on this car. And unfortunately there's a person that's touching the car, and then where's the person's feet? It's on the ground. So completing the circuit. So we'll see what happens when the line turns hot and the line lands on the car. All right, so this particular scenario, it tells several stories. One, when you have a hot line that's down and there's potential conductors around, such as a car, such as a person, you want to stay away from it. So during storms, when lines are down, they come down. Sometimes they don't look like they're hot, but they really are. And you can see in this case, when the line falls down, it falls onto the car, the tire starts to catch on fire. And that's what usually happens. And the reason for that is because the tire is the element that's touching the ground. So electricity will flow through the car chassis, and go out through the tire, and it'll short out right on the earth. And the same thing with Annie, the mannequin. She's touching the ground, she's touching the car, she's touching a hot car. So now there's a circuit where you have electricity flow through Annie, through the ground. So from a first responder perspective, since you have all that electricity going into the earth, all that ground is all energized. So that's what we need to keep in mind when we're responding to these type of accidents, because it's like throwing a pebble in the water. So you throw a pebble in the water, you get ripples. And what happens where that electricity starts to ground out, you got ripples emanating from it. Now usually it dies off after 30 feet. So that's why we have this clearance, and then because it's asphalt, it's highly resistant, so it doesn't go that far. But that's the potential. So there's a line down. We want to stay clear of the area, confirm that the electricity is off before responding. Another interesting thing with that scenario is that inside of the car, you see nothing burned. Yeah? And then what that case is, it's like being the bird on the wire. You know, we put energy onto the car. Now the whole car is one energy or else one voltage. So there's no electrical flow. So inside of the car, no, nothing burns up. So a lot of times when lines fall on a car, person's in the car, usually that's the safest place to be because there's no current flowing through there. As long as the car doesn't catch on fire, they're fine inside of the car. That scenario also is the same situation where we have a crane. If a crane goes up close to the electrical line, it touches the electrical line, all that electricity will go into the crane and it'll start to short out the outriggers. So the operator of the crane, the safest place to be is on the crane. Because if they step off the crane, all around that ground area, now you have all those voltage rings or those voltage potential where they can hurt. So a lot of times that's what happens. Person panics, gets off the crane, starts running off the crane, touches the ground at two different potentials, and then they get shocked. Now what we have here is similar to the first incident. Downline, and then we put that downline onto our mannequin, who again it is grounded to the earth. Now, thing to look at is that when we energize that line, you know, it doesn't crackle, there's no sparks and that kind of stuff. A lot of times that's what happens, where you see nothing. It may look dead, but is it really? Equipment. Now for us at the electric company, our hard hats are rated for high voltage use. We use Class E hard hats. They're good for electrical brush contact all the way up to 15,000 volts. They're good up until the point of their condition. So if we have any cracks in the hat, or it gets brittle, or if we hook up certain elements to it, such as this one shade thing that's around the hat, it ruins that insulative property. So what we'll do is, we got this hard hat, it has that little shield in the back, but also there's a puka in the hard hat. And then we'll see if electricity can find that puka and short out the mannequin. As you can see, it's so important for our line of work when we do put on our PPE that it's in the condition that it needs to be. Otherwise, it doesn't, you don't have the protection. And in this case, just a little hole inside of that hard hat, you know, it just totally nullifies all the protective